First, I'm going to show you how to create your Ojo de Dios. You're going to get 4 wooden dowel rods. Yours are going to be about 20 to 24 inches long. I'm using shorter ones for this demonstration so that it would fit in my workspace and you'd be able to see it a little more up close and personal. You're going to need a pair of scissors and you're going to need some yarn. First thing you're going to do is take 2 sticks and set them aside. Pick up the other 2 sticks. I'm going to take them and I'm going to crisscross them together, making a perfect cross, T, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to hold it together in the center with my thumb. I want to make sure that this distance between this end of the stick is the same here and here and here and also here. So try to get it as centered as you possibly can. Next thing you'll do is take a piece of yarn and you'll put that underneath your thumb and hold it in place. Then what you're going to do is you are going to wrap this center to get these 2 sticks to stay together as a unit. I'm going to wrap them and I'm going to wrap them fairly tightly. I want to make sure that I keep the consistency of these quadrants as I go. Do the best that you can with that. So I'm going to wrap it like 5 or 6 times pretty tightly. Then I'm going to switch hands and I'm going to wrap this in the opposite direction, kind of making an X formation over the center to hold it together. I'm going to wrap that 5 or 6 times. You want to try to get these to stop moving. So if I'm not convinced that they're hooked together really well, I will then take my string and I will switch directions again and go back the way that I came the first time around. And make sure that it's good and tight and those are not going anywhere. Those are pretty good. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my string about 5 or 6 inches long. I'm going to take that and I'm going to wrap that around the back side of one of my sticks, making a loop in the front. I will take the tail and I will put through the loop, pull down and tighten that string. This is tying it off. I'm then going to do it on the opposite side. I'm going to make a loop next to my string and then I'm going to wrap it inside that loop and pull down. That ties them together. I'm going to sit this one aside and I'm going to pick up the 2 sticks that I sat aside in the beginning and I'm going to do the exact same thing with these. Hold them together in the center, grab the string, wrap, wrap, wrap fairly tightly. Switch hands, switch directions. And then back the other direction just for good measure to make sure that it's good and stable. Okay. Cut it about 6 inches. Loop and tie. Loop and tie. Okay. At this point, I want to take both of these that I just created and I'm going to sit one down. I'm going to put the other one on top of it, making a snowflake shape. But I need to get these to stay together, one on top of the other. Best way for me to do that, I got a couple of options. First option, which is the one I'm going to use because I need this demo to speed up, is hot glue. If you have a hot glue gun at home, great. You can throw a huge blob of hot glue right in the center of one of the sticks. Let it set up for a second, kind of let it start drying. Take the other stick and lay it on top exactly where you want it to be and hold it until the glue dries. And it's going to be really important you hold it until the glue dries, otherwise it's not going to hold it. So we're going to sit here and we're going to hold this until the glue dries. Mine are not quite staying, so the other thing that I can do is throw a little extra hot glue in just to kind of stabilize it. You want to keep the hot glue off the sticks. You're going to make sure that these stay together so that these pie wedges are about the same. And this is going to be the toughest part. If you don't have a hot glue gun, what you can do is you can get a partner. That partner can hold these in place by holding them out here until you get the center secured. And one way that you can get the center secured is wrapping, just like we did on the first 2 sticks. You can wrap in several different directions to get it to stay together. But what you want is this to stop. Okay, mine's not exactly holding yet, so I'm gonna keep with the hot glue. Now you won't see any of this, so it doesn't really matter if the hot glue shows. But you want to get it to stay, that's the goal. My hot glue's dripping. Next thing I can do is wrap them together. So I can take this unit that I've now glued to the table, and I can hold a piece of string underneath, and I can wrap in several different directions to get them to hold together. Mine just came apart, lovely. I never have trouble doing this when I'm doing it by myself. When I'm doing it on a demonstration, I have all sorts of trouble. So I can wrap this direction. And this is just for stabilization. I can wrap it in this direction, just to hold the pieces in place. Wrap this way. Like I said, the goal is just to get them to stay in this position. Now, at this point, they're not going to stay perfectly. They're going to be a little wobbly in the very beginning, and that's okay. So, as long as you can get them to kind of stay together, like this, you can begin. Do you see how I'm holding this? So, first thing you'll do is, you've got this piece of string that's kind of holding on for dear life here. You're going to take that piece of string, and you are going to wrap it around every stick all the way around. And this is how you wrap them. You go over top the stick, wrap it around one time, go to the next stick, wrap it around one time. You want to push these in towards the center because they're definitely going to be helping hold this together. Next stick, wrap it around. Next stick, wrap it around. I'm going to go all the way around, and I'm going to keep adjusting this as I go, making sure that there are no gaps. Wrap it around, wrap it around. Wrap it around, wrap it around. Now, I think I've gone all the way around at least one time. This is a good time to adjust this to make sure that they are falling in the right place. And you're going to keep doing this. Wrap it around. Wrap it around. You're going to go all the way around. I would say probably 4 or 5 times all the way around. Until this thing stops moving and your design stays stable, you want to keep doing this. Mine is actually getting pretty good, and I've only gone around once or twice. Now you're probably wondering, all these little extra strings that are hanging down, you just want to force them to the back. Make sure that they stay down here. They'll be out of the way because this will all be covered up. But if they're bothering you, they're getting in your way, my suggestion would be snip them off. Awesome. Snip it off. they shouldn't be bothering us. Wrap it around, go across the top, wrap it around, wrap it around. Now I'm doing this fairly tightly, trying to keep this tight and keep it from moving. And I'm doing a pretty good job so far of keeping it from moving. It's not wobbling on me anymore. Okay, mine is pretty stable. Okay, so once I've got this going and I've got this pretty stable, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. I'm going to switch colors at this point. So I take another color of yarn, and all I'm going to do is tie the two ends together, just like this. Pull them pretty tight to make sure they're not going to come off. And then cut the tails pretty short, just like that. Then I'm going to continue on. So I'm going to wrap it around, go to the next one, wrap it around, go to the next one, wrap it around, next one, wrap it around. Once I hit this next color, once it comes up, I'm going to switch patterns. Your design is going to have to include 5 different colors and 2 different patterns, 2 different ways of wrapping this yarn. Now, always wrapping yarn the same way makes sense, but that would be boring. So now I've got my other color. I'm going to wrap this on every other stick. So I'm going to wrap it on this one, skip this one, wrap it on this one, skip this one, wrap it on this one, skip this one. And it's going to start creating a diamond texture, or a diamond design. Same way, wrap it across the top and around, go to the next stick. Wrap it across the top and around, next stick. This design is going to hide all this mess that you created in the center. And as you go further and further out with this, it will start holding together better and it will start looking better. You want to make sure that as you do this, each next wrap lays against the wrap that you did before it, not, excuse me, on top of it, because that'll look sloppy. And you're just going to keep going around and around and around until you are happy with the amount that you did in that design in that color. If you're ready to switch colors, you're going to do it the same way that we just did it. Tie a new piece on and keep on going. Okay? You can wrap every stick, every other stick. You can go behind and do this one, and then behind and do this one, and then behind, and it kind of creates these points, which are kind of cool. There's all kinds of resources online for different design ideas. You are going to wrap this and go all the way out until you're about 1 inch to 1/2 inch from the very end of the stick. At that point, you're going to stop, tie it off the same way that we tied it off on those other sticks, and you're going to have to add either tassels or pom-poms to the end. You can't leave the ends unfinished. So how do we do that? Well, tassels are fairly easy to make. Tassels can be made by taking some yarn, and you want yarn that's probably, I don't know, 10 inches long, and I'm going to double it. So I'm going to do 10 inches, and I'm going to wrap 10 inches. Now, it doesn't matter if these are exactly, and I'm probably going to have about 8 to 10 strands here, and I'll stop when I get to about 8 to 10 strands. Cut it off from the yarn ball. Take another piece that's about 10 inches, cut it, and do a second one that's about 10 inches. Cut it. Now what I'm going to do is take one of these pieces that I just created. I'm going to slide it underneath my pieces that I just made. I'm going to find the center, or roughly the center. I'm going to take these and I'm going to tie them together, and I'm going to make a double knot. Okay? Now I'm going to take the two tails where I just tied it, and I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to hold it like that. Then I'm going to take the other 10-inch piece, I'm going to slip it underneath the mass of strings, and right about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch from the top, I'm going to take these two pieces and I'm going to tie them together again in a double knot. Now that makes the head of the tassel. Kind of looks like a little ghosty. And I'm going to make these part of my tassel at the bottom. Now you can see the tassel's made. All you got to do is chop off the excess. When you find how long you want your tassel to be, throw away this junk. There's your tassel. And you can then take them and just tie them onto the ends. If you want to make a pom-pom, what you're going to need is, I actually use a specific tool for this, but you can actually do this right on the end of this if you want. Or you can cut a piece of cardboard that is shaped like a U, just like my fingers are shaped. I would make them a little longer, but just shaped like a U. What you'll do then is take that item. Okay, I have one that I made. Haha. I would take this and I would wrap my yarn, wrap. Don't do it tightly, loose is fine. And you're gonna wrap this a ton of times. Wrap. Okay, once you have like a pretty good mass of yarn on the end, you'll cut it off. Okay, set it down on the table. Take another piece of yarn about 10 inches long or so, and you want to slip this underneath the mass all the way through until you can pull it up in the center. Then all I'm going to do is tie this in a double knot. You might need somebody's fingers to help you hold it in place because you want this to be pretty tight. Okay, and then all you're going to do is slip it off and cut all of these loops. Now you'll notice I've got a couple of long pieces here. I'm going to trim those off. I don't want them to be long like that. I want them all to be the same. And then you're just going to, oops, I missed some. Just going to fluff it out. And there is your pom-pom. Looks like it needs a little more trimming. Pom-pom. Okay. If I were you, I would make them with a lot more yarn. That looks a little sparse to me. I feel like it should be fuller. And you can totally do that. Okay, and then you just attach them to the end. And that is making an Ojo de Dios.